So I found out about this news recently of Stephen Colbert doing a Lord of the Rings film, and I'm like, really, Stephen Colbert? So let's check this out. This is apparently a video from Peter Jackson and Stephen Colbert. We're gonna have to scroll through my likes here. You guys seeing all my history, seeing all my history. I'm embarrassed. I'm so embarrassed, even though you can literally see it publicly. Um, let's check this out.
The next Tolkien movie after Hunt for Gollum, and the fact that we've partnered up with you to develop the script. So,
yeah, I'm pretty happy about it. Shall I tell people what the story is?
as much as you want. Yep.
I will, as much as I can. You know what the books mean to me and what your films mean to me. But the thing I found myself reading over and over again were the 6 chapters early on in the Fellowship that y'all never developed into the first movie back in the day. It's basically the chapter is Three's Company through Fog on the Barrow Downs. And I thought, oh, wait, maybe that could be its own story that could fit into the larger story.
So what he's saying is we're going to adapt 6 chapters of the book that were unnecessarily, we don't need to have a movie about this, but we could have a movie about this. So we're going to capitalize on it the best we can, and we're going to make a movie about it with 6 chapters. Same thing with The Hunt for Gollum, which only took about like a paragraph out of the book. So that's what he's saying.
Could we make something that was completely faithful to the books while also being completely faithful to the movies that you guys had already made? And I started talking it over with my son.
The question is, you say, can we? But the question you should be asking is, should we? Given Colbert's fandom of Rings of Power, that gives me little faith that this is going to be accurate. No matter how much he loves the books, I don't care. He's not Christopher Tolkien. He's not J.R.R. Tolkien. He's not even Simon Tolkien. He's not Tom Shippey. Stephen Colbert is not trustworthy.
And Peter, who's also a screenwriter, and we worked out what we thought would work, especially as a framing device for that story. And it took me a few years to scrape my courage into a pile to give you a call. But about 2 years ago, I did. You liked it enough to talk to me about it. And ever since then, the two of us have been working with the brilliant Philippa Boyens on how to develop this story. And we recently took it to Richard Brenner at New Line and Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca at Warner Brothers. And I could not be happier to say that they loved it. And so that's what
Look, as much as I like Peter Jackson and his, I love the Peter Jackson films. I really do. Were they super accurate to the books? Not entirely. They left a lot of stuff out, as we see here, but they adapt the spirit of Tolkien. I don't think J.R.R. Tolkien would have liked the movies. I don't think Christopher Tolkien would have liked the movies. But the reason they're so beloved is because they capture the spirit of Lord of the Rings. They capture the spirit of Tolkien's work. And at the time, Peter Jackson understood that. It's been well over 20 years now. The world has changed. The landscape has changed. Warner Brothers has changed. And I would be hard-pressed to believe that Peter Jackson has changed. And same thing with Philippa Boyens. That now, it won't be so much about respecting Tolkien as it would be about sending the message of what they believe is Tolkien's message. And even if it's contradictory to what they believed before, it's what would be accepted in modern society, which is why hack fucking people like Colbert are getting involved. People like Patrick McKay and J.D. McPain for Rings of Power get involved. Rings of Power broke the mold on destroying Tolkien. You think that Peter Jackson's gonna do better just because he did the movies? We saw the same thing with Chris Chibnall whenever he came back to Doctor Who. We saw the same thing. People were saying, oh, Kathleen Kennedy was a fan of Star Wars. She's going to do a great job. Look what happened to Star Wars. You had, what was the other one? There's more. There's more. People, Sam Raimi comes back to Marvel, does Multiverse of Madness. You know, just because it's the right people at the right time does not mean that it's going to be good. That it's going to be like it used to be. Hell, Joss Whedon could have done a really good Justice League movie, except he picked up Zack Snyder's sloppy seconds, and look what happened.
We're going to be working on.
Fantastic. Now, are you sure you've got the time, though? Because,
That I did not think I would have the time. As much as I love it, I knew I couldn't do that and do the show at the same time. But it turns out I'm going to be free starting this summer.
Isn't that fortunate?
Isn't that a you catastrophe right there? So if you'll excuse me, I've got to finish a television show and I've got to write a movie script. But I will see you all in the Shire.
Okay, alrighty, bye-bye. See you, Stephen.
Thanks, Peter.
Bye-bye. I was just explaining to the folks.
So, apparently it's official. We're going to have Stephen Colbert writing a Lord of the Rings film centered around 6 chapters in the book instead of adapting the book, I guess. They're probably going to interject a lot of shit that doesn't need to be in there, probably some identity politics. We'll see about that, but I'll react to something else regarding this. This is not going to be my last video on the topic. So let me know what y'all think in the comments down below. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see y'all in the next video.